I'm Melinda Elmer with Century 21 Masters in the Elmer team, and today I'm here with special guest Roy Jimenez from TLD Law, and he's a real estate attorney, and we're going to talk a little bit about what is rent control in California, what does that mean, and what does that look like? So there's a number of different types of rent control here in California. There's statewide rent control, and then there's city and county rent control and various ordinances in between. Can you talk a little bit first about what does the statewide rent control look like?
Yeah, so the state rent control, it went into effect in 2020, but a lot of people didn't know about it because right away COVID hit and they weren't following the state guidelines. They were following local guidelines based on the moratoriums. But generally, this California state rent control restricts the amount of rent that landlords can charge their tenants for rent increases. It's limited to 5% plus the cost of inflation with a 10% cap on that. And it only applies to certain types of properties and certain areas. So you have to do the analysis as to whether it's a qualified unit or a non-qualified unit. So that's kind of like the umbrella law for all of the state of California. Generally doesn't apply to single-family homes if you follow the right guidelines.
And then obviously there's certain areas within California that have much stricter rules as well, especially city of LA and a number of other smaller cities where there's the rent stabilization ordinance, or known for short RSO. So what is the main difference between like an RSO versus the state of California?
Yeah, a part of the California Tenant Protection Act allowed for local communities to create additional laws that provide more protections to tenants. And so while Los Angeles and Santa Monica, they always had their rent control ordinances in place, a lot of other cities now have joined the bandwagon and implemented their own form of rent control. And it's just basically creating guidelines that restrict the amount of rent you can charge your tenants and also limits the reasons for evicting your tenants. Typically, when you're talking about the city of LA, if it's covered by the rent stabilization ordinance, the restrictions are very specific, and they're much more tenant friendly. For California, if you're in an apartment, it would be 1 month's rent would be a relocation fee. But if you're in the city of LA, the relocation fees depends on multiple factors, and it usually starts about $9,000 to $10,000 and goes up from there, depending on the situation that the tenant is living in.
Sure. And with that situation, there I know there's some really strict rules about when they can and cannot move people out and that kind of thing as well. Is there much variance between the RSO areas and the state of California, or is that pretty similar?
They're different just because the RSO is more tenant friendly. And so in some cases, you can't move out a tenant at all in RSO.
It's almost impossible.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
As we have to get into those cash for keys situations where you're actually paying the tenants to leave. And that's after you give them all the legal notices. You tell them how much they would be getting under the relocation assistance program, and also advise them that they really don't have to leave if they don't want to. So there's a lot of restrictions there.
Right, and I know we've had situations where we've had to do notices and give people all of that and had to pay them quite a bit of money to get them to move out. So yes, definitely lots of important things to think about. How much typically in an RSO can people raise rents on a year-over-year basis?
But it varies depending on the city, but typically for the city of LA, it's currently 4% per year, but you have to check that annually because depending on different situations, it fluctuates. And with the fires and all that sort of thing, they may even put a stricter reduction on rent increases in the future.
I heard that they may be talking about eviction moratoriums again for another year, so seeing that again like we did during COVID as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out. You can reach Roy.
I can be reached at email rjimenez@tldlaw.com, or my office number is 562-923-0971.
And of course, you can reach me at 562-316-2915 or Melinda@theelmerteam.com. Thanks so much for watching, and please feel free to forward and share this with your friends.